Look at this. Disneyland! 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 Oh, look at those birds. The crows, the crows! Every night at sunset, the crows fly all around Disneyland like crazy. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them all over the property in different spots. You're lucky enough to see some of them right now. But this isn't a video about crows. No. This is a story about how I broke my foot at Disneyland like an idiot. Not now, but in the past. There it goes, there it goes, there it goes. There's the Lily Bell train car departing Main Street Station. This is the longest introduction ever, almost. Okay, here we go. This is not a video about crows. It's the Sometimes vlog. It's a vlog. That girl was holding a flashlight. I had no idea what was going on there. I thought there was a UFO on the screen. There isn't. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Disneyland for the Sometimes vlog. Now, many times on Periscope, I have made the mistake of saying things and then having to follow up on them by explaining later. And one of those mistakes was, one time I told everybody to remind me about the time that I kicked a rubber traffic cone and destroyed my foot at Disneyland. We were inside of the parking, well, now we established where we are, we can actually walk outside. We were outside in the parking structure here, the Mickey and Friends parking structure. There was a rubber cone on the ground, and I said, careful, you don't want to kick that. There could be consequences. One time I kicked a cone here at Disneyland and broke my foot, and then ever since then, people are like, tell us the story before I went to Walt Disney World. I said, hey, when I get back, I'll tell you the story. And I meant to tell it on Periscope. I thought, I'm going to tell it on Periscope, and I'll show the spots where the things went down. But then I realized they're too spread out. I can't do it on Periscope because I'm going to have to cut from one thing to another. So Sometimes vlog, this story is for you. One time, a long time ago, and a time before the time before when the men were men and the giants and everything, I had a guitar player in my band who came from Kansas. And I flew out to Kansas. Oh, see, crows. That's not relevant to the story of the crows. So, I mean, some of them, they weren't alive at the time. So I flew to Kansas. I drove this guy out here, and I had this guitar player from Kansas, and we hung out. We went on tours together. We played shows. We did all this stuff. But eventually, after 5 or 6 months, this guy decided he really missed his mom. He really missed his girlfriend. He wanted to move back to Kansas. So back to Kansas he was going to go. Now, the one thing that we hadn't done, ooh, there's a jet fighter up there. A fighter jet. That's cool. You don't really see fighter jets that often. One of the few things that are allowed to fly over Disneyland. Well, that's a completely separate note. It was loud enough to obnoxiously disrupt the story, but that's okay. And then there's the sound of it after it. Anyway, the one thing we hadn't done while he lived in Southern California was we had seen celebrities' houses and we'd driven around Hollywood and we'd done all this stuff. We hadn't gone to Disneyland, so I brought my friend, the guitar player, to Disneyland. It was 2005. It was the 50th anniversary of Disneyland, and we had a good time. It was wonderful. We looked all over the place. It was very like, oh man, we're gonna miss you. Oh man, we're gonna miss you too. It was very much kind of like last day at school feeling, a good night, a good vibe. Back at that time, you didn't always have to park at the Mickey and Friends parking structure. Before Disneyland was here, DCA was nothing but a parking lot. DCA opened in 2001, so it was not a parking lot during this story. DCA was there, but for the longest time before Cars Land, that whole area where Cars Land is now was still a flat paved parking lot. So you could actually enter your car in here off of Harbor Boulevard in Anaheim, and you could drive alongside the backstage of DCA and out to a big flat parking lot. And parking trams actually came over here to which is now just the bus loading area. See, here's Disneyland behind us. We're turning now. I'm just giving you a little context now. We come out through Bag Check. Harbor Boulevard is over there with McDonald's and everything like that. And this is where you load onto buses for the, ooh, look at that, monorail. I can't get enough of our monorail since coming back here. This is where you load onto buses to head down to the Toy Story parking lot. But at the time I'm talking about, when there was still a parking lot in Cars Land, where Cars Land is now, you would load onto trams here. So this was a tram loading station. So as we exited Disneyland for the night, we're like, all right, let's take the tram back to our car because it was way back in that parking lot behind DCA. I never really was a big fan of the structure. And so we came over here to load onto the tram right in this area here. And then I'm trying to find one. Hold on, this is important to the story. And this friend of mine, we were all goofing around and being crazy all night long. And this friend of mine and I are being hyper and we're running all over. Oh, here's some over here. So it happened over here, but I'll show you over here. This friend of mine ran up. We were running around. I was jumping on benches, getting all hyper. You know how I do, like, we're running around. We had so much fun at Disneyland. I'm screaming. I'm telling him stories about the 90s, the old days when I had my annual pass. And I used to get into shenanigans. And he runs over here and he's like, where's the tram? Well, it turns out the trams had stopped running. So we had to walk back there. And he's like, oh, come on, stupid tram. And he kicks one of these cones hard. I mean, like hard, like, yeah, ding. And he hit it kind of flat-footed like this. And he's like, ow! And I was like, why did you kick that thing so hard? He's like, I thought it was made of rubber. These, my friends, these cones here are concrete with steel in the middle of them, I would imagine, because they haven't cracked. Oh, I almost dropped you there. They haven't cracked in all these years. These giant cones that once separated people to load onto the tram. See, there's some still over there. It was one of those ones. They're concrete. These big concrete cones. So he kicks one of these concrete cones with his foot, totally Heimbach's foot, hopping around. Oh man, that really, really hurt. Ha 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 ha, you did that, ha ha ha, LOL, man, I can't believe you thought, why would it be rubber? Why would there be a rubber cone this huge? Why would there be a rubber cone anywhere this size? And so we were making fun of it. We had to walk all the way back along the side of Harbor Boulevard, all the way back along this walking path to, well, first out to Harbor Boulevard and then down all the way, walked back to this parking lot, which was back where Cars Land is now, which is where we need to pick up the story. Let's go! All right, the Cozy Cone Motel here in Cars Land. The story is very cone related, as you can see. The theming matches, although this isn't really the exact spot where the story continues. The story really continues backstage, sort of behind where Tower of Terror is and everything now. But come on, there's huge cones here. The Cozy Cone. This is the best place to finish the story. So anyway, so my friend kicks that cone and lets out a shriek over in the parking lot. Wow, I can't believe it. And he's like, oh, my foot hurts. And then he was all cranky pants about it. He was super cranky pants about it, like, oh, I can't believe I kicked that cone. They shouldn't have put those cones there. They should warn people that they're made of concrete and not rubber, because almost anyone would think that they're a rubber cone, not a concrete cone. Hello. And I can't believe I kicked it. It's look, it's Tow Mater. Oh, he's gonna move right now. That's what you're doing. You're getting traffic out of the way of the Mater. Hello, look at, there he is. Mater. Now there's a truck who knows a thing or two about cones. He would have known that giant green cone. Wow. That's kind of the sound I made when my friend Andy kicked the cone. Whoa, Mater. All right, I'm going to continue the story. Mater's just honking. He just wants attention. He wants the attention. Everybody wants the video bomb. Yes, I know you're Mater. Goodbye. Lightning's talking. Mater's talking. Anyway, okay. So he's like, oh, complaining. They should have known. They should have known. They were made out of rubber unless there was a sign. Blah blah blah. So we're just dying laughing. Now we're all laughing. And I have this other friend, Dave, who's like totally going crazy, making fun of him and laughing and all this stuff. And we're still all hyper. We're carrying on. He's kind of sour now. Like, well, Disneyland was still cool if they would just label their concrete cones, you know, all this stuff. I'm dying laughing. I thought it was so funny. So we get all the way back to where our car was parked, all the way back here, near to where Cars Land is. I would say it probably happened about 100 yards that way, right? I get out there, parking lot is wide open, there are no cars. We had lingered in Disneyland for so long that there were no cars. And if you ever do that, you go out to the parking lot, there's no car, you see your car from a million miles away because it's the only car out there. And out of all the parking spaces in the huge parking lot, out of the huge, vast, wide open space, there was one, and only one, orange caution cone on the ground. It was not in the street. They use these caution cones to cone off the area for loading on the tram, so that when the tram finally got back to the different parts of the parking lot, it would unload you. And they'd have cones there. They have cones to block certain areas, like don't park here, park over here. So there's always cones there, but there was just this one in the middle of a parking space, in the middle of a huge open area. No sign. There's always cones. People kick the cones around out in the parking lots when it was all flat. And people used to take the cones, run over the cones on purpose, mess around with all of the crazy, cozy cones out there. So I go, hey, Andy, better not kick the cone. And I rev myself up. And I go flying towards the cone, Charlie Brown style. And I take my foot back and I kick the snot out of that cone. I go to kick the cone like a freaking football hero, like, yeah, I'm gonna punt the cone and kick it in the air. It's gonna be the greatest thing that ever happens. And the second that my foot hit the cone, a sound, this is how it happened in my memory. My foot touched the cone and out of my mouth came this horrible sound. It was the sound of the Banshee from Darby O'Gill and the Little People combined with every shriek from the nightmare of every child born since the time of Christ. It was a scream that could make the birds sing. I screamed like I don't think I could possibly force myself to scream ever again. I screamed, and then I was aware of the sensation that my foot had exploded. So in my memory, my foot touches it, I scream, I'm surprising myself with my own sound of my scream, and then my foot exploded like a bomb, like you put cherry bombs into my foot somehow, and my foot just exploded. That's what I felt. Sheer, horrible, awful, Heimbuck, pain. Man, it's so cool out here. Isn't Cars Land cool? Let's just take, have you ever been to Cars? Let's take a look at Cars Land really quick. Just a little pause in the story. So my foot exploded. I want you to sink your teeth into that feeling of like it exploded. You don't know what's happened yet. Your foot just exploded. And oh yeah, Cars Land is cool, right? And I screamed and screamed. I almost had this whole joke in my head like Cars Land is so cool, and I totally ruined it. So now I'm wearing sunglasses at night like a jerk. Gonna stick with it. Now I'm gonna commit to the role. Kicked this cone and screamed as loud as I could. My foot has exploded, and I'm like hopping around. And I tried to put my foot down for a second, like, and I could not do it. I screamed again, and I screamed in such a way that my ex, who really honestly normally did not care about me or anything that I was doing, actually turned around like, are you okay? Everybody turned around like, are you okay? And I'm a loud, hyper, crazy person, you know, I'm always joking around, and nobody thought I was joking. That's how crazy of a scream it was. Everybody said, are you okay? I was like, what happened? I'm like on the ground now, in pain, like no tears, just talking really fast. I get in really bad pain, I talk really fast, I get all stressed out. I get my arms going. That's what happens when I'm in pain or I'm under stress or something. I do that. I don't cry, I don't know. So anyway, gnarly pain. Well, it turns out, I was like, how can this happen? It was a rubber cone. I went, and right before I kicked it, hey, Andy, you better not kick the cone, remember? So he's like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Lifts up the cone, whoop, and there is at least inch around, at least an inch thick, like, you know, diameter, solid metal pipe coming up out of the ground, about a foot and a half, maybe 18 inches high, and an inch around, coming out of the ground for no reason. In the middle of in the side middle-ish, in a parking spot with just this little rubber cone on it. Had no reason to be there. Out in the park for no reason, not near a construction zone, no signage, no nothing. And I could not put my foot down. And it turned out that I had totally broke like 2 bones in my foot. I had broken my foot by kicking a rubber cone in the parking lot of Disneyland behind DCA, when DCA was Cars Land list. 2005, I believe this was. November 2005? Towards Christmas, but no Christmas lights were up. I just totally destroyed my foot. All I had left was the bloody stump of a foot. And no, really, I just broken 2 bones, but it was so horribly painful. And it was all because, well, it was all because there was a pipe there which shouldn't have been there, and they put a cone over it instead of cones around it or anything, which Andy kicked a cone that was made of concrete that was very obviously not a rubber cone, in my opinion. And I kicked a cone that was very obviously a rubber cone with no danger, and there was a hidden metal pipe in it. So I feel like those things should have been, you know, okay, I told you you're gonna feel stupid for telling this story. Well, I was telling you guys on Periscope. I was dumb, I kicked the cone, and I was full on mocking him like, you better not kick the cone, bam. Karma, people. That right there is called karma. I was not being nice. I was taking pleasure in someone else's pain, and I was laughing at him. And then you know what happens? Pride cometh before the fall, / you heimbuck yourself when you think that you're too good to be heimbucked, and then bam, the foot with the touching and the explosion of pain, and there you go. And that's my story of how I broke my foot in the Disneyland parking lot. Now everybody went crazy. You should sue them. There shouldn't be a pipe out there. What if someone's car had hit it? That's true, there shouldn't have been a pipe there. We're not gonna sue anybody. I'm not a very litigious person. The only way I get lawyers involved in something is if it's like the absolute last priority. So of course I wasn't gonna do that, but people went crazy about that. You should sue them, they broke your foot. They broke your foot. They didn't break my foot. I broke my foot when I mocked my friend and went to kick a cone. Anyway, Cars Land will forever remind me of that, and because the cozy cone thing is so close to the exact spot where I would have broke my foot on a cone, I had to tell that story here at DCA. Anyway, I need to go find some food now. Thank you for watching the Sometimes vlog. DJ is here. Oh, sorry. DJ is here to make loud noises and to have a crazy DCA dance party with music I would rather not capture on the vlog or be totally drowned out by. So I'm gonna end this vlog and go seek food for my hungry body. Thanks for watching the Sometimes vlog. Live Fast Life 4 on Instagram, Live Fast Life 4 on Snapchat. Tomorrow, Back to the Future Day, October 21st, 2015, tomorrow, I have to go to get a dental surgery. So, everyone keeps asking. My plans for tomorrow are very, very, very likely I'll be sitting in a room, unable to speak, maybe watching Back to the Future on Blu-ray, hopefully, from my bed, because if it doesn't go well, I'm gonna feel like horrible. You ever had that? Sometimes you go to the dentist and everything's fine. You go home and you're like, hey man, I can totally eat now. Everything's fine. Weird, that wasn't that bad. Sometimes you go and like you just for 2 days, you're like, oh, headache, I can't do anything. So I don't know what to expect. So I haven't made any plans. Woo! Radiator Springs Racers, that's our test track over here for you Disney World people. So I have no plans for Back to the Future Day. It's really just a Wednesday, guys. Come on. For October 21st, 2015, for that reason, because I'm not sure I'd be able to execute any plans I would make. So, no plans for tomorrow, but I got my Back to the Future fix last night. If you go back one vlog, we had a DeLorean, we had Doc Brown's truck, and we had a Pizza Planet truck in the parking lot of the Twin Pines Mall. We were there from about 9 p.m. all the way till literally we waited till 1:18 a.m., just like in the original Back to the Future movie, when Doc says 1:18 a.m. And we hung out there and did some crazy stuff, so go watch that. I love you all. Subscribe for some more adventures, and I'll see you later. And don't forget, livefastdiepore.spreadshirt.com for the future. So happy Back to the Future Day to everyone. If you don't see me tomorrow, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Go home and sleep well.